President of the United States, Vice President Joe Biden.
I'm Joe Biden's husband, and I'm delighted to be here. And by the way, we did elect, you all elected one of the great classes. Guess what? We now have a Speaker of the House that is a significant roadblock in what this guy's been trying to do. Folks, before I begin my remarks, I want to address something that right up front. And I know, you all know, that the fact of the matter is that women's rights and women's health are under assault like we haven't seen in the last 50 years. And we've seen state after state, including Georgia, passing extreme laws in clear violation of constitutional rights protected, including Roe v. Wade. And some have gone so far in states to deny even any exceptions for circumstances that would involve the right of a woman to choose. And it's clear that these folks are going to stop at nothing to get rid of Roe, and it's clear to me that we have to just be just as strong and defending it. I support Roe. I support women's right to choose under that constitutional guarantee provision. And quite frankly, I always will. Folks, you know, and I'm going to fight to protect the woman's right to make her own personal decisions against their health care. I've also, for many years, and let me say this before you start to clap or boo, is that for many years as U.S. Senator, I've supported the height of it like many others have. Because there was sufficient money and circumstances where women were able to exercise that right, women of color, poor women, women who are not able to have access, and it was not under attack as it was then, as it is now. But circumstances have changed. I've been working through the final details of my health care plan, like others in this race, and I've been struggling with the problems that Hyde now presents. It's become clear to me that to get universal coverage and to provide for the full range of health services women need, which I plan to do with the continued expansion of Medicaid and the public option of a Medicare plan. In that environment, where providers like Planned Parenthood are under unrelenting attack, where we have a circumstance, and I want to be clear why I'm taking the position I have. I make no apology for my last position, and I make no apology for what I'm about to say. The fact of the matter is that when in fact there is this enormous pressure and even threat to close down clinics that are available in the past for women who do not have the funds but are able to have them paid for privately, as we've been able to do. That was one thing. But we now see so many Republican governors denying health care to millions of the most poorest and most vulnerable Americans by refusing even Medicaid expansion. I can't justify leaving millions of women without access to the care they need and the ability to exercise their constitutionally protected right. If I believe health care is a right as I do, I can no longer support an amendment that makes that right dependent on I think, just as I've never attempted to impose my views on anyone else as to when life begins. I have never attempted to pose my view on who should pay for it if people fundamentally disagree with the position you take. But folks, times have changed. I don't think these guys are going to let up. What's changed is, and Jesse and I talked about this in another context, when I got the great honor of receiving the medal at the Martin Luther King Museum. And that was that I don't think that most of us foresaw, I think Jesse did, but I didn't, that we would see a return of this viciousness, this notion of pitting people against one another that we are seeing now. And I talked with Tom very briefly in the back. We have to be really careful. No matter, by the way, whoever the nominee is, I will support it. The last thing we need is to engage in fratricide as nominees seeking the nomination. That will only help re-elect a man who is a genuine danger to the Republic as well as the country. But folks, I never thought that I would see what I saw in Charlottesville in my lifetime again. I never saw, what I underestimated is that, dealing with hate, prejudice, and absolutism is like cutting grass. You gotta keep cutting it. You don't ever eliminate it. It's not like a weed killer, man. It doesn't go away. You know what I mean? You can't let up. You cannot let up. And so folks, these fellas and ladies on the other team are not likely to let up. And so let me say that I really appreciate the fact that I think we're all basically on the same page here in the sense that we understand that how important this election is. I should have begun by thanking Mayor Bottoms, who has done an incredible job. And guess what? I got to meet the mom today. Now I fully understand her. She's an incredible woman. I want to thank you for welcoming Madam Mayor to this beautiful city and for championing the policies that drive equality all across the country and all across for all people in Atlanta. I'm especially proud of being in John Lewis's home district. John, a great friend, and I'm sorry he can't be here tonight. But because when it comes to speaking out about what's right and what's wrong for the country, John, I told you what name will be here tonight. If he showed up, John, welcome, but I don't know if he couldn't be here. For speaking about what's right and wrong for the country, John has sort of been our North Star. North Star. He has never wavered. And I want to thank Chairman Perez, my old buddy from the administration, for his outstanding leadership. In 2018, I think I can say this without fear of contradiction. I campaigned for more Democrats in state and congressional seats and governor seats than anyone in the country, over 68, I believe. And the fact that in 22 states, and I saw two things with my own eyes. Number one, when Democrats vote, we win. When we speak to the issues that affect people's lives, we win. And thirdly, what I noticed everywhere I went, as much as each individual account, each individual issue mattered, what this election was about was as much about our values as it was any particular issue. It was about the sense of decency, on honor. It's about who we are as a country. And look at the results. We took back the House. We saw 70 new leaders like Lindsay get elected. But guess what? We beat 41 sitting Republican House members. And I was very proud to have been invited by those folks to meet in almost in every one of those districts to go in and campaign. Because the other thing is, our message is not limited to a red or blue state. Our message is, the irony of all ironies is, that actually the American people are more together on what we should do as a nation in terms of issues than we were when Jesse and I were getting started. There were great differences on the war, on race, on women's issues, on environment. But if you look out there today, Rev, almost every major issue is a consensus among Americans between 51% and 68%. From everything from making sure that we improve on education, to making sure that we deal with infrastructure, just go down the list. What's broken today is our politics, not the system. And so, you know, we have provided, all of you have provided, with your incredible help and leadership, we have put a check on Donald Trump's power. And America's in better hands because Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House. Trump is gone. All of you know, and I say this not because I'm running or anybody, all of you know in your gut, this election for president is different than any one you've ever participated in. No matter what your age, in your gut, you know you've never been through an election like this. President Trump has shredded American values at home and imperiled our leadership on the international stage. Everything that has made America America is at stake. And I saw, like you did, what happened in Charlottesville. Then when I heard the President of the United States assign a moral equivalence between those spewing hate and those with courage to stand against him. And remember his words. He said there were very fine people on both sides. No president in the history of the United States, at least since the Civil War, said anything like that. George Wallace said things like that, but he never became president. He never became president. I knew then what all of you knew, that this is unlike any other threat we've seen, at least in my lifetime. And I said at the time that I believe we're in a battle for the soul of this nation. We are in a battle for the soul of this nation. It's also what's happening every day. Deporting dreamers days before they graduate from high school. Separating children from their parents at the border. Putting kids literally in cages rather than family unification. Tearing down the guardrails of democracy with an assault on the press, on the courts, on the Congress. That isn't who we are. And we're so much better than that. You know, we also have to acknowledge that who we are has never been perfect. You know, when I did my final announcement in Philadelphia, they said, why Philadelphia? Because that's where two of the most important documents in the history of the world are written, political documents. We hold these truths self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their Creator. We, the people. Even Jefferson never lived up to those words. But never before have we affirmatively walked away from it. It's always been what all of you have been about, particularly some of the leaders in this room who have been doing this for a long time, present company excluded. The fact of the matter is, we've always sought the idea of a more perfect union. That's what it's been about. Our country has been marked by the original sin of slavery and the treatment of our native peoples. Our history has continued to discriminate and exploit. And the impact of the choices we made and the policies we implanted, so many of which were purposely designed to systematically hold back people of color, especially African Americans, are still being felt. What does it say about the legacy of redlining structures, structural racism, when homes in neighborhoods that are half black are worth half the amount of money that there are if they were in a white neighborhood, the same exact home? What does it say about economic opportunity when unemployment rates for African Americans are twice that of white people? We're starting to make some progress to close the gap, but it's not fast enough. What does it say when our country, when children who are born poor are twice as likely to stay poor if they're black as compared to white children? We have to be unflinching in confronting these realities. Those of us who benefit most from the system here is we have to speak out. We have to take responsibility. It's our part, it's our responsibility to take action and fix it. We have to stand up and declare with conviction and moral clarity our opposition to the evils of what have become now, and they're out in the open, out from under the rocks, white supremacists. And we have to make sure, working every day, to rip the inequities of housing and healthcare and criminal justice and so many other areas. We have to keep moving closer and closer to that more perfect union. In an ideal America that has inspired so many generations, so many strivers, so many dreamers who have hope for something better. Let's start with education. We need to make sure that every single solitary child, no matter their race, their parents' wealth, or their educational level, no matter their zip code, where they live, no matter if they have a disability, that every single child deserves to have a high-quality education that prepares them for the success of the country. Everybody says that. It's easy to say. But the fact of the matter is, what are you going to do to make sure that happens? Folks, I love my Republican friends. They say, we value education. Well, ladies and gentlemen, my dad used to have an expression when someone told him what he values. He heard me say this, Tom. I don't remember, he never met my dad. But he used to say, don't tell me what you value. Show me your budget. I will tell you what you value. My education plan, I think we have to triple Title I for schools. From $15 to $45 billion a year. We can't afford to do it, by the way. We're able to. To make sure that those schools serving low-income communities have resources and need to give their students an equal start in life. We're going to start with early education, universal pre-K for 3 and 4 years old. We know it matters. There is no sociological or educational theory that proves anything other than a black child from a home that's poor has exactly the same potential as a white child from another class home. Look, we have to make sure that poor children, black children, have the exact same opportunity to realize their potential. Racial disparities are so pervasive in our society today that they're part of our environment, literally. It's poor. It's in poor communities, communities of color, and tribal lands that are the hardest hit by pollution. That's why we have to focus on this. It's not just, we talk about, we all have introduced climate plans. Well, guess what? The people who are devastated by what's going on in the environment are people in poor communities. Whether it's lead paint on their walls, whether it is the pollution coming from automobiles in narrow areas, whether it's placing mills and factories near where they live, no matter what it is. This pollution and water pollution rains down upon them. That's why my plan for climate change includes a comprehensive approach to environmental justice. It's about ensuring that all communities can breathe air and drink water, from Flint, Michigan to Brady, to Texas, to Merrimack, New Hampshire, where I guess was. It's essential to our health and our future. It's about holding accountable those polluters who abuse their power for too long at the expense of these communities. It's about an incredibly long list of policies that I could go through. I won't, and bore the devil out of you tonight. But we need to build a more inclusive economy, for better access to capital for black-owned and small businesses, reduce the decline in black home ownership. We can do this. This is in our system. Folks, look. One of the first bills that were passed in 1975 was redlining in black communities. Folks, this is not beyond our capacity. We need to reform the criminal justice to make sure that black mothers can feel confident when their child walks out the door that their sons can be able to walk safely back in the streets of America. And because we're here in Georgia, I want to focus the rest of my comments on one of the most insidious issues that we have to confront right now: voter suppression. People relation Stacey Abrams isn't your governor today in the state of Florida. Voter suppression is on the rise in America. It's Everything got let out when he got elected. Everything. Folks, there are, if I'm not mistaken, close to 75 initiatives in over 36 or 38 states introduced to reduce the capacity and the right and access to voting. Let me be clear about something. It isn't voter fraud. There's zero evidence of that. It is about making it harder, for people of color to vote, including Hispanics and Americans. It's a direct descendant of the poll tax, or when black voters were presented with a jar of jelly beans and asked to guess how many were in it before they could cast their vote. It's nothing less than a methodological assault, a methodical assault on our democracy. So we have to keep fighting. I've been doing my entire life to protect this sacred right to vote. As Dr. King put it so plainly, voting is the foundation stone of public action. That's why they work so hard. And we, in turn, have worked so hard to expand the Voting Rights Act. Every time it's come up for reauthorization. I worked to strengthen protections for voting access to make sure there is a paper trail for electronic voting, to ensure poll workers are properly trained. Folks, there should be automatic registration to vote when you turn 18 years of age. 2006, when we unanimously authorized the Voting Rights Act in the Senate, I felt we finally got past the fight. Then what happened? In 2013, the Supreme Court cut the heart out of the Voting Rights Act in a deeply misguided decision. Justice Ginsburg, who I was proud to have supported, likened it to throwing your umbrella away in a rainstorm because you weren't getting wet. Well, we're soaking now, folks. As I said, at least 24 states have enacted over 70 bills to curtail the right to vote for people of color. As of last month, 35 states enforced or scheduled to enforce voter ID laws. It's just un-American, as it was during Jim Crow. So there's only one thing to do. We have to win. We have to win. None of the plans we all have, and my colleagues, I think we all agree on this, none will succeed without doing the first thing. Beat Donald Trump. The Congress is, as a woman who still should be the Attorney General of the United States, she was acting. The Biden administration of justice will once again protect the fundamental right to vote. And I'll lead the fight for laws that affirm protections of voting rights and make sure it's easier for people to exercise that right. Voter registration, I said, should be automatic. We need to do more to harden our voting system against outside electoral influence. I can't go into the detail, but I promise you, it's not just Trump himself. It is the Russians who are still engaged in trying to alter our system. Look, we can all do this, but we have to vote. That's why we're here tonight, to support the DNC's IWillVote campaign and generate some enthusiasm for our candidates up and down the ballot. We know what the Republican strategy is. They want to disengage and disenfranchise us. They want Democrats to be divided and go at each other's throats. We're not going to have it. We're going to get every single informed registered voter committed to turning out an election. Folks, I know we can do this. All the challenges we face, I know this country was capable of. A little over 10 years ago, on January 17th, 2009, I stood in Wilmington, Delaware, in a train station with my 3 children at the time, overlooking the part we call the Jesse's Bend near East Lake, a totally African-American part of the community and the East Side, which had been basically burned to the ground when Dr. King was assassinated. In fact, we're the only city in America since the Civil War occupied by the National Guard with drawn bayonets at every corner, virtually every corner, for close to 10 months. And I came back home and I had a good job with a famous law firm. And after passing the bar, you don't get admitted until January, you graduate in June, you don't get admitted until January to pass. I decided I just couldn't do it. And I quit and became a public defender. And here I was wondering at the time when I looked, this is not about me, it's about the change, about why there should be hope. Folks, I remember I'd go down to the train station because sometimes where they'd arrest people and hold them before they put them in jail. I'd go down to interview people. And here I was now, almost 40 years later, standing at the end of that platform, looking north toward Philadelphia, over what we call the 3rd Street Bridge. You've been there, Jess. Waiting for a train to come from Philadelphia, 27 miles north, for a black man to pick up me and drive and ride 127 miles to Washington, D.C. to be sworn in as President and Vice President of the United States. And I stood there with my kids, and it hit me like a ton of bricks as I stood there. I never thought, back when I was a public defender, I never figured out how to do this, how to put it back together. So when people tell me there's no hope, when people tell me we can't change things, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't accept it. Because folks, what these guys want us to do is lose hope. It's all about taking away hope and optimism. Because people, when they lose hope, they don't participate. They stay out. They're trying to convince us there's nothing that we can do to fundamentally change things. You know, it's a hallmark of our nation that we strive to do better than we did in our past. And that's the face America has to once again show to the world. It's time to pick up our heads. Remember who in God's name we are. Stop walking around like, whoa, with me, what are we going to do? Folks, there's not a single thing we can't do. We can pay for every one of the things we want to do by eliminating some of this god-awful tax cut and $1.6 trillion in we're in a better position today than any time since I've been alive to lead the world. We have our workers are 3 times as productive as they are in Asia. We're in a position where we have more great research universities in the United States of America than all the rest of the world combined. As my mother, my wife, the doctor would say, Google it. It's true. Folks, we're in a position where not only the most powerful, physically powerful nation in the world, we haven't led the world by the example of our power. We've led by the power of our example. And it's being decimated. It's being decimated. You see what's happening around the world. But there's no reason why we can't reestablish and strengthen these alliances once again. D-Day, today, 75 years ago. So many what they do after D-Day, they set up the greatest network of alliances in human history. Why did they do it? To be able to limit the power of any one nation, to be able to abuse the power of others. That's what it's all about. What's this guy done? He's gone out and deliberately embraced tyrants and autocrats at the expense of our friends, poking them in the eye, saying that the things that were set up after the war they don't work anymore. Ladies and gentlemen, he's wrong. He's absolutely wrong. But I tell you what, if he only has 4 years, he'll go down in history as an aberration. But 8 years, and he'll fundamentally change this country, and we're going to play hell putting it back together. So folks, no matter what you do, get the vote out, and remember the nominees, support him or her. The reason I'm not staying around, I got a granddaughter who's graduating, and I love y'all, but I'm getting the hell out of here for graduation. Thank you.